Rocky, 1976, my favorite film of all time. I'm not saying it's the best film of all time, but it's definitely my favorite for numerous reasons I'm not going to get into today. But please believe I love the Rocky universe. I love the Creed franchise. And Creed 3 is one of my most anticipated films of the year. I have a lot to say about it. So let's get into it. First of all, the cast, again, incredible. We got Michael B. Jordan coming back as Adonis. Jonathan Majors is playing our main antagonist as Damian. We have Tessa Thompson coming back as Bianca. The legendary Felicia Rashad returning as the mother. And then Wood Harris is going to be the trainer again. We have a really nice crew that is telling a very different story when it comes to the whole Rocky universe. In this film, Adonis is basically about to retire. He is at the top of the world, considered one of the greatest to ever do it, and he's ready to retire, and he does. And he starts to train his own fighters and enjoying retirement, enjoying his family. Then all of a sudden, a ghost from his past shows up, and that's Damian. Jonathan Majors comes back out of prison after doing an 18-year stint. They were childhood best friends. Adonis is pretty taken back about it. He's a little guarded, but he's happy that his best friend is back home and wants to do right by him. The reason why he wants to do right by him is because Damian and Adonis were in a group home together where they had to endure a lot from the system, from abuse, not having enough food, you know, the unfortunate story of what people have to deal with when they're impoverished in this country. Damian is actually the #1 amateur in the country, and so they're both planning to be these huge boxers. Unfortunately, Damian gets arrested due to an incident involving him and Adonis. Adonis gets away, and that's where their paths break off. Damian's back, and he has all this regret of all this missed time, and also seeing his best friend basically live his dream. He believes that should have been him, and he wants a chance to prove it. He wants a title shot from the current champion who was actually training at Adonis's gym. I'm not going to give much more than that, but just know that a lot of this film is about dealing with the fallout of this terrible situation that both Adonis and Damian were in as children, and how their paths separated, the guilt and remorse that Creed feels about that, and also some of the anger that Damian feels towards it. Rightfully so, believe it or not. Michael B. Jordan directs this film, and what a way to come out of the gate swinging. And he makes a film that's in the Rocky universe that does not feel like a Rocky movie. The other Creed films definitely felt like Creed films too, but especially since Sylvester Stallone is not in this film, it doesn't feel like it has the weight of that shadow of this luminous figure of Rocky Balboa over the film. Rocky did his job and served his purpose as a mentor and a confidant and a friend, but now Adonis is that wise sage character, and he's the one that's the mentor, and he's the one that's holding things together. And it's cool to see that Adonis is still the main character of his story without having to have all of that background. This universe of fighting in the Rocky universe expands way past Rocky. I guess if we were to do prequels of Apollo would have been that main character, and then it would have expanded into Rocky, and now it's expanded into Adonis. The franchise actually gets a lot more life because of Sylvester Stallone not being there. Now, Sylvester Stallone, the drama between him and Winkler, the producer, it's been going on for years, it seems like. He says he has no ill will against Ryan Coogler or against Michael B. Jordan or anybody else working on this film, but still, I wish he would have at least gave a little bit more of his blessing for them on this film. But I'm telling you, it's okay that Sylvester Stallone's not in this film. It works. And that's coming from somebody who loves a Rocky Balboa as a character, maybe my favorite character of all time in cinema. So it doesn't feel like a Rocky movie. Yes, you do have the score, Gonna Fly Now, at least a movement. This has been like movement 8 or movement 9 if I'm gonna use like classical scoring. So it's tangentially related. You get some French horns, you get that big band, but it's very intimate compared to the other scores of other films. It's interesting because a lot of the Rocky films are very intimate in nature. They're about inward introspection, about how to overcome yourself more than overcome your opponent, I feel like. So that's an interesting choice. I think that there's enough Easter eggs there that super fans will get, but if you don't know anything about the Rocky franchise and you came into Creed, you'd completely missed it, and it would be completely fine. It wouldn't take away from the film. So another way that this film feels much more different than all the other Rocky films is that, yes, it still has that introspective outlook and layer to it where Adonis is dealing with some stuff, as well as Damian is dealing with some stuff in this film, but it has something to say about society as a whole. There's haves and there's have-nots. You have these two figures in Adonis and Damian who come from the same situation where they were in group homes. All types of bad things were happening to them in these group homes. They get really gritty and rough around the edges. They don't know how to handle their emotions because handling your emotions doesn't serve you well in the communities that they come from. So they're tough and they go in separate paths because of an incident that happened. Damian is right. He should have been the heavyweight champion of the world the way that his career was projecting, but he ends up going to prison for 18 years while Adonis lives his dream. The fact that Damian has lost time and that he feels like time is of the essence and how he has to achieve something now. I know people who've gotten out of prison and they feel like they've lost time, like their life has has passed them by, because it kind of has. And so what do you do to establish who you want to be in such a short time window? You miss your 20s, you miss your 30s. What are you going to do? Adonis's and Damian's story reminds me a lot of a book called The Other Wes Moore. Wes Moore is actually now the governor of Maryland, but he wrote a book about how him and another Wes Moore had come from the same projects a couple of blocks away from each other, and how he was able to become a Rhodes Scholar. The other Wes Moore ended up being in and out of prison and had such a hard life, and a lot of it had to do with environment and happenstance and just the lack of access to resources that the other Wes Moore was not lucky enough to get that the current governor of Maryland had. And it's a very interesting way to take the movie, because it's hard to see when you put it in that framing Damian as not being a sympathetic character. He's not a villain. He's definitely the antagonist, but he's not a villain because you understand that he had to go through a lot, and his feelings are just as justified as Adonis's feelings in this film. Something that does still connect to the Rocky franchise in terms of this great hero that Adonis is supposed to be is that women are still the emotional centers of this film. Obviously, Adrian was the emotional center of Rocky, and then after Adrian left, Marie was, and Rocky Balboa. They helped him deal with his ish. Rocky didn't start to achieve and to become a better fighter and a better person until the women in his life were able to bring him to a place of vulnerability and able to have some straight talk with him. A lot of these films is Rocky and even Creed in the first two films, them being the stoic, trying to be tough fighter leaders, and it's the women that are able to teach them something about themselves. But here's what they do different in this film, I feel like. In the other films, it's seen as heroic and manly, and you deal with your stuff and you can really relate to that. But in an age where we have so much emphasis on mental health and men getting therapy and men getting close to having some sort of healthy relationship with their emotions, this time Bianca being the emotional center is so annoying because he holds so much back. And you're like, come the heck on, Adonis. Just tell Bianca what's going on so she can help you through it. You feel this is one of the things that Tessa Thompson does really well. You feel the same frustration that she has. It's like, I have to think about my daughter and I have to think about you, and I'm trying to hold it together, but you're not giving me an inch. You're not giving me a millimeter of a way or an idea of how to move forward. Yes, the trauma that Adonis had to deal with is very heavy when you learn what it is, but the fact that they've been married this long and he still doesn't know how to open up, and he still doesn't even see that she has things that she needs to be vulnerable about as well, it frustrates you. Adonis is almost as broken of a character as Damian is in terms of dealing with his emotions. I thought that was really interesting, and a really interesting commentary about the power of love and the power specifically in this film of women and black women in terms of the way that they help men. But also, we got to get our stuff together. We have to do better in terms of if we're trying to live like this super antiquated idea of masculinity where we hold our feelings in and we deal with it all on our own. It's not helping anyone. In fact, it's pretty destructive. Final thing I'll say is that the direction of this boxing in this film is great. It feels more realistic than other films. You get some different types of variation of boxing that I have never seen before, especially whatever Damian's doing. The only thing I can think of off the top of my head is Yoshimitsu in Tekken, how unorthodox it is. It doesn't look right, and so it confuses the opponents when he's in the ring with them. It's very interesting the way that they do that, but there's also, especially in the final fight, I'm not gonna give it away, but there's a choice that they make that separates it from the other 8 films in terms of your final battle. I think that Rocky 5 tries to do something different because they understood that the final fight scene at the end of the film was getting kind of old because we've seen it all at that point, and so they made it a bar fight. It didn't work that well. They do something different in this film that works very well for me. It makes it so much so that the whole story really comes together in a really gelled way. Let's talk about performances real quick. I think that Michael B. Jordan continues to evolve as an actor. I think that we get into an emotional place with him that we haven't seen really since Fruitvale Station. I think that he is able to hold his own in the film against a talent like Jonathan Majors, who may well be the actor of this generation. Tessa Thompson, with the material that she's given, she's very strong in this film as well, especially being with that emotional center for Adonis and also dealing with her own issues. I think that there's some things that still need to be explored with her, and I wish that we had an extra 15-20 minutes in the film really just dedicated to things with her. Either way it goes, I think that she was great. I think that every film that I talk about that Jonathan Majors is in, he's always going to be the standout. It's like he has never played the same character twice. He's been in quite a few films at this point, and he does some things where he gets to an emotional space that reminds me of people I know who've gotten out of prison, who are a little bit scared of the new world that has changed around them, and they have these regrets, but they also can be kind and they can be sweet and they can be grateful, but also upset that their life has passed. I don't know who he talked to, I don't know what type of research he did, but he played that role very, very well. Before I give you my rating, I just want to thank you for continuing to support me. If you are new to the channel, if you've been watching my videos for a while but you haven't subscribed, it takes you just a few moments to to hit that subscribe button for me, and it will mean so much for this channel because the growth of this channel means the life of this channel. So if I can get my subscribers up, that's going to do a lot of things in terms of pushing my content out there to more people, as well as help me to develop more content for you. So if you like the reviews, if you like the reactions, if you like the live streams, please subscribe. But anyway, forget all that. What's my rating? See it, stream it, or skip it. This is probably the best film I've seen this year so far. This is obviously a see it. There are some issues I do have with it. Felicia Rashad's character makes some choices that really are nonsensical. I think, once again, that Tessa Thompson's character deserved just a little bit more screen time to deal with some of the issues that she was dealing with and to put that more on the forefront, because I think that there was more story to tell there. But outside of that, this is a really good film. It's a 4.5 stars. See it for me. I think that this is going to be something that's going to resonate with people throughout the year. I'm not sure if it's going to have that same effect that, say, a movie like Everything Everywhere All at Once did, where it came out super early in the year and it still was able to ride that train all the way to awards season. But if it doesn't, I think that it's worthy of it. There's enough technical things in this film that should be applauded and should be celebrated on the highest stage. And I think some of the performances are really strong too. Kudos to Michael B. Jordan. Congratulations on your first venture. I want to see more direct. I still want to see you act, obviously, but I want to see what your next directing project's going to be, and I hope that you're able to pick the projects that you're really passionate about and be given the reins to that. I think that this movie is going to make a lot of money, and that's what gets people directing jobs. Are your films successful in the box office, or are they not? But hey, what do I know? I'm just a guy that loves movies. So do you love Rocky as much as I have? I've probably seen the original Rocky movie at least 55 times in my lifetime, and that's not including the other Rocky films as well, and the Creed films as well. I completely love this franchise. Is there any other Rocky universe heads like me? Let me know in the comment section below what's your favorite movie within the Rocky universe. And also, if you go see Creed 3, let me know what you think of it as well. My streaming show, See It, a show about movies and stuff, comes out on every Tuesday at 5 p.m. Eastern. Check me out on YouTube for See It. Thank you so much for supporting me, and I will see you at the theaters next week.